All right, so let's break this one down too, because obviously this is another huge. All right, so I had another little piece that I wanted to get into that last video, so I'm just going to do a quick little stitch here just to get this part in here, because I've mentioned Mark Chenoweth before, and I wanted to really kind of hit home with what he exposed with his testimony to Congress, and anyone can go pull up his Congress that he gave to his testimony that he gave to Congress about this. Well worth it. Mark Chenoweth, he's the president of New Civil Liberties Alliance, and he straight up told Congress, and this is part of what he said: administrative proceedings routinely violate core constitutional protections, including the Fifth Amendment's due process clause, the Sixth Amendment's right to a public trial, and the Seventh Amendment's guarantee of a trial by jury in civil cases at common law. Mark Chenoweth called out these administrative courts because, again, these are not real judicial courts. Okay, everyone really has to get a grasp on the fact that they're not producing judicial courts of record. Okay, they're not these judges. They're bound by oath, but they're being controlled by the executive branches. That's why they're enforcing these policies, and that's why you see judges that are saying the Constitution doesn't apply here. That's treason. These guys are committing treason. Okay, so again, going back to the due process of law, right? All of these things are being violated every single day because we have not kept our public servants in check to keep our republics operating the way they're supposed to be. That's where Benjamin Franklin, a republic, if you can keep it, right? We have to do our jobs as the people to hold our public servants accountable. So again, these tribunals, they're executive agencies, not judicial courts. They're making up their own rules, right? That's why we see even their own rules they make up, they violate them. And then they just act like it's no big deal and screw it. We're just going to silence you and we'll hold you in contempt like they did to me because they didn't want me to keep running my mouth and exposing the crap that they're doing. And then you got the judge acting as prosecutor, right? And in a lot of these cases, that's what's going on. Half these prosecutors, they're absolutely clueless. They have no idea what's going on. And then worst of all, we see how there's no accountability because obviously when you got, let's say you get a ticket, right? The cop is part of the state, the township or city you're in is part of the state, the prosecutor's part of the state, the judge is part of the state, and they're all working against you. You cannot have any fair hearing or trial in any of these tribunals because you're getting train wrecked. As we can see here, as we keep breaking this stuff down, this is all fraud. Everything they're doing. This is the exact scheme, right? They replaced the trial by jury with their fake policy-enforced jury trials, and which I just exposed in the last video. That is what's going on. And again, that's why I keep saying more and more people are coming out about these things, and there is exposure, but the lawyers aren't going to do anything because they're part of the system. They're all trained in the policies and procedures. Our vast majority of our public servants, they're absolutely clueless. They're not going to do what needs to be done. This is going to take an authentic act of we the people. It's really spending the time, getting out of the distractions. That's why I was really, tearing into the people going on about sports and reality TV shows. And we have to stop with the distractions. We have to come together and we have to start educating ourselves and educating others and start holding our public servants accountable. Okay, so let's go back to how this connects to our rights, right? The Fifth, the Sixth, the Seventh, all of these exist to protect us from the very fraud that we see taking place, right? The Fifth Amendment due process clause, no person shall be deprived life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So that means these administrative courts, they're violating this every single day, using unbiased adjudicators in unfair hearings, right? Using their statutory provisions that are bypassing rights that are secured to us outside of their limited delegated powers, okay? Then the Sixth Amendment, the criminal protections. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury. These administrative tribunals, they're forcing you into their private hearings with no public oversight, no real jury trial by jury, and no right to face your accuser. Okay, they say the state can't be the accuser. I think everyone's starting to see that's another scam that they have going. Okay, the Seventh Amendment, which is the common law civil jury trial. They try to say, there's no jury trials in civil, whatever. Again, that's their fake nonsense to deprive you of your rights so they can steal from you, steal your money. That's all they want. They want to steal your money. Okay, they want to control you and use you as a debt slave. Going back to what Judge Green said, we're all peons in a cogwheel system. Peon is a debt slave. Okay, that's what they're doing here. So Mark Chenoweth's warning here. This is real proof, right? That the administrative law judges, they're employees of the agency, paid by the same agency bringing the charges. These are not judicial courts of record. They're kangaroo tribunals. They're destroying Americans' faith, right? They destroyed the American people's faith in these courts, in our public servants. They destroyed the rule of law because they're not operating by it. Okay, they're consistently operating outside of their constitutional limited delegated powers, and this applies to the traffic courts, the family courts, licensing hearings, zoning hearings, tax hearings. All of them, they're all operating the same way. They're all administrative. They're all administrative processes denying you of your basic rights to use you as slaves. So again, like I keep saying, we got to stand up and we have to demand our rights. We have to assert them, and we have to be educated enough to hold our public servants accountable in order to restore our republics.